Next up, the CarBuyer Advisor, your first place to turn for everything automotive. Taking a stand for consumer education and dedicated to connecting you with the industry's finest automotive products, services, and advice. And now, please welcome the CarBuyer Advisor.
Over the last 3 decades, we've met tens of thousands of people, from individuals to business owners from just about every walk of life. Hundreds of times more people and businesses than many of you combined may meet in a lifetime. Here's the paradox. When you provide your customers the best experience you can every day, you get frustrated when you're not provided that same experience. You scratch your head wondering how they stay in business and leave committed to never giving them another penny. Here's the dilemma. You see how much easier it is when you do it right, how much your customers enjoy it, and the success it brings your business. Kind of old school, but you just treat people the way you want to be treated yourself. Golden rule stuff. Do they even teach that anymore? After a while, it gets ridiculous. The norm becomes inferiority and mediocrity at best. You give people their money's worth and then some, but yet you really find yourself getting your money's worth. Does it sound frustrating? Have you had personal experience with this? Wait, there's hope. You finally found one that thinks the same way you do. It's so clear and obvious you can hear it. You do business with them over and over, and what a great way to get your money's worth. Slowly over decades, you amass a list of these businesses, the ones you enjoy doing business with. You not only do business with them, you would send your family to them with certainty that they would be treated properly and fairly. It sickens you every time you hear a story about someone that has been taken advantage of. What you realize is that this has been a snowball traveling downhill out of control for so long, and yet you've resigned yourself to believing that you really can't do anything about it. Then have an epiphany. You not only feel compelled to do something about it, you have to. The low-quality businesses outnumber the truly incredible ones. You commit your life to creating a new set of possibilities. You get a radio show, and one by one you introduce the truly great businesses to your community. And I'm not sure anyone will ever be able to imagine that moment when a community rallies behind your cause. Life as you know it takes on an entirely new meaning. And what a privilege to be the platform for truly exquisite businesses. Our next guest is so extraordinary and provides precisely what we want you to come to expect from any business in any field. Cannot say that about where you have your gas or diesel truck service now. See them once, you'll never accept less again. Melinda Campbell, owner of Dynamic Diesel, along with James Wood, the shop manager. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch.
Now, I hope you know how much I enjoy not just having you on our show, but supporting quality business practices like yours. Even people that may already do business with you may not know this, but you're avid supporters of our community. Our experience has been that when businesses care about their community and their staff, they have then the capacity and commitment to care for their clientele at the level that you do. It's just what you do, and you don't go around bragging about it either. That's not why you do it, but you don't just give back, you give back a lot. And if you don't mind, Melinda, please share with our listeners some of your company's community involvement.
Yes, we do give to the community, and we're very adamant that the money we contribute goes directly to this community in Northern Nevada. We donate to local charities, but we also sponsor fun activities. I try to make sure that Dynamic Diesel has a presence wherever there are lots of pickups, and in the process, we've met some amazing people. We sponsor rodeo, racing, truck pulls, motocross, and even demolition derby. Wherever these people gather, there is a parking lot full of pickups pulling trailers. The folks we sponsor have been very loyal and have reciprocated by sending us lots of business. It's been a win-win for Dynamic Diesel and the community.
Well, and I think that, Dynamic Diesel is just not your first business either. When businesses, again, do business with the quality and integrity like yours, it seems interesting that regardless of what business they go into, they're always successful. And that's exactly what's happened in your case. Please share all the company's products and services that you provide in our community.
Well, in 2002, we opened American Truck and Trailer Repair. My husband has been in the trucking industry for about 30 years. It's a full-service, 12,000 square foot shop, 3 mobile service trucks. We repair big rigs and trailers, class 5, 6, 7, 8. Our mobile units can come to your yard or on the side of the road. In 2012, we're exploring the business market, and if the business is there, we're contemplating putting a full-time service truck in Carson City 5 days a week.
Well, that's going to certainly benefit our community. James, at Dynamic Diesel, you do more than just service and repairs. You also boost performance with chips and programmers. What advantages would someone gain by having you install one of those?
Well, basically, by installing a chip or a programmer, it will increase the towing benefits, the available power, the mileage, the overall economy of the vehicle.
If it involves trucks, you can bet your money that you guys do it. But you do a lot of fun stuff with them, too. So take a minute, if you will, and talk about the fun factor at Dynamic Diesel.
Well, the fun factor basically is anything out of the norm. I mean, we do so many injectors, fuel pumps, turbos, steering repairs, and that's on an everyday basis. But when we get the benefit to customize somebody's truck with fancy lights, fancy bumpers, winch kits, lift kits, it's out of the norm, and it's actually fun.
Well, and not just for you, but, the person that walks up to their truck and gets to enjoy the bling that you can install on it.
Exactly. That smile on their face is the benefit, actually.
Well, and that thanks for saying that, because that actually, the fact that you shared that shows that you get your pleasure out of that you enjoy seeing them enjoy their vehicle more.
Yeah, when I get to go on a test drive with them after we're completed and make sure that all the quirks are out of it, no rattles, no dings, no nothing, and they come back and they're like, wow.
Well, and then you probably have some fun doing that to some of your own stuff, too, probably one of the benefits.
Oh, yes.
Well, every year we see and hear the same thing. In the first day after winter, everyone rushes the trucks in to get them ready to tow their favorite toys. They want it now, whether it's a horse trailer, boat, their car hauler, or an RV, or whatever it is. I can imagine right now, if we just start having the conversation with our community about getting their truck ready for towing now, that they might have a problem with that. It might not quite click in their head, but I want them to consider that department stores sell spring clothes in the winter. And this is really the best time for them to get their truck ready for the first nice day of weather, and then they're off. First of all, what types of products and services do you provide for people that tow? And did I get it right? Now is the time to start getting that work done.
I would really recommend any kind of modifications or repairs for the towing season that's coming up, along with regular maintenance. We offer a vehicle inspection with approximately 90 to 100% of the vehicles that come in. We do a visual, we check fluids, we check brakes. A lot of people don't realize that the Department of Transportation here in Nevada insists that your vehicle is up to par. And if it is not, they will down your vehicle on the side of the road if they suspect that. So we bring in vehicles, we inspect them thoroughly, along with the concerns of why it's there.
Well, and as far as getting their vehicle ready for towing, let's talk about some of the things that you do for the person that's going to tow, that you can do to prepare them for whatever weight they're towing.
All right. If they're going to have a specific concern, hey, I'm going to tow this vehicle to Utah and go to Moab for 2 weeks with their car hauler, with their Jeeps, with their quads. And they said that the last time they pulled it, their truck was just, it was working way too hard because of this or that. So I would try to increase the rear spring pack with airbags or an add-a-leaf suspension to help with the added weight that they are going to be pulling. Because not every vehicle is going to be pulling that weight 100% of the time.
Well, and I've seen this, and I'm sure many of our listeners have seen this, a vehicle pulling a truck pulling a fifth wheel or a boat or something like that, and the tail's wagging the dog on them. What do you do to correct that?
Well, there's certain hitch modifications that we can do. There's spring modifications, because when you're going down the road and you see a vehicle literally almost dragging the bumper on the ground, it's overloaded. Okay, so we go in there and we modify the steering, suspension, everything that we can to alleviate that, because when your vehicle is really heavily loaded, the rear axle is way down on the ground, it affects the steering.
Well, the front is then lifted up, so the weight's off of the wheels that control the steering.
Right, and it's potentially a danger.
Well, and one of the things I think the people that don't have the proper suspension set up and haven't had their vehicle inspected, and I thank you for bringing that up, because just getting your truck ready, getting a tow hitch installed, for an example, and getting the wiring done now, which is really appropriately the time to do it, isn't enough to have the vehicle inspected for its ability and capacity to tow these weights and to do it safely. There's all sorts of other things I think that we can go into on that as well. Like I mentioned the tail wagging the dog, where if the trailer or boat is swaying from side to side, how can that affect them?
Basically, the terminology, the tail wagging the dog, can cause you to overcorrect your vehicle and off the road.
And jackknife and
roll it,
and it's really dangerous. I mean, it's just not like you can just sit up in the steering wheel and try to casually correct for this. And I'll tell you, folks, if you're driving down the highway and you see one of those, get away. I mean, because it's really a danger to not just them, but everybody around them. And thank you for mentioning the Department of Transportation. If they see this, they'll actually pull you over and down your vehicle for stuff like that.
Correct.
And a lot of people don't realize that. So it's really important that you have somebody that's professional and knowledgeable about this type of inspection process and getting it done right. And most of all, your safety's on the line with it. So definitely take it to them now and give them an opportunity to get it prepared for you so you're ready to go that first day. Melinda, I found out recently you offer financing sources for your customers, and most shops don't do that. I thought that was really impressive. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Well, yes, it's called GE Money Car Care. 3, 6, 9, or 12 months, interest free, and it's really good, but you do have to qualify. So it's basically like a credit card. If you qualify and you pay it off on time, 0 interest. For those people who cannot qualify, we do have a third-party option with very high interest. But hey, if you really have to drive your vehicle and have no other option, it is a way to go.
Well, but you still take personal care in making sure that those consumers really have an option, and not every shop does. It's like if you have the money, great, and if you don't, great. But to actually provide that as a service and to have a couple of options for them. And like you said, the interest rate is depending on a consumer's credit, which is true, but you have a local resource that can also, for somebody that's had some, look, this economy, and it's not that they're bad people, has caused some people to have, maybe some changes in their credit history. And it doesn't make them bad individuals, but that you still have taken the time to care about them and find a home for them as well.
Well, it took me a long time to choose GE Money, but I thought the greatest thing is 0% interest. If you just make your payments and you can go a whole year, it costs you nothing.
Well, and you get your vehicle fixed now. And again, I think that there's probably, if people picked up the phone right now and called 20 shops, they'd be surprised to find another one out of that first 20 people they picked up and called that even offer financing resources, let alone a couple of them, depending on your credit history. And I commend you for that. It really shows your level of care of your community and your consumers. I have to ask you another thing, Melinda. I mentioned that you give and you give and you give to every customer your absolute best, and every day that you're there. How frustrating is it when you go somewhere and you don't get the same from another business? Or even worse, when someone shows up in your shop after another business didn't properly repair their truck?
I think probably the best answer to that is my dedication to customer service is because I am the worst consumer on the planet. If I go somewhere and have a bad experience, I likely never go back. So it really means a lot to us that people feel the same way when they come.
Well, and you mentioned also about the person that comes to you with their vehicle that hasn't been repaired properly and they've already paid for it. And now they're coming to you after that experience. How much that breaks your heart.
It does. It really does. And unfortunately, some of the bad shops around are my best advertisement, free of charge, because the horror stories we hear when people come in, it really does break your heart. And we do the best we can to make sure they get fixed on time and proper.
Well, I loved what you had to say about you're the worst consumer. I actually think you're the best consumer, and I want to make sure that everyone gets that, because this is the consumerism that we support. And literally, if people just can get this one thing out of what we're up to as an enterprise, it's going to revolutionize our industry, the automotive industry, in our community, and so quickly. Any one individual that exercises that is really impacting a small percentage of a business's return. But if a whole community stops supporting, immediately goes, I'm never going to go back there. They stop supporting low quality businesses. What's going to happen?
They're going to get better.
Thank you. They're not all going to go away. There are going to be some of them that do, and that's fine, because if they're not willing to shift the paradigm that they operate under, then we don't need them. As a community, we'll be better off without them. But there's going to be some that are just going to actually get better. And then we all benefit from that. So I think you're the best consumer. As a matter of fact, if we could get everybody to act the way that you just spoke about, I wouldn't have to have the show. We'd have a reformed industry and a community and an automotive industry in a community that was so well respected and loved. And we'd have the nation's finest automotive community as a result of that kind of consumerism. So I commend you for that. I mean, that's really what the CarBuyer Advisor started about, is that type of reform. And how do you feel about that, James?
Ever since you've been talking about that same subject, I've been in the industry about close to 20 years now, and it's what I've done day in, day out. I haven't had a job ever at, a fast food restaurant, sweeping a floor, anything like that. I jumped right into this industry and learned everything I could about it. I went to school for it for 2 years, it's always been one of my passions. So if I look over the last, let's say, close to 20 years that I've been into it, I've seen older gentlemen retire. I've seen newer kids that have changed oil move up in the industry, and there's so many mechanics out there that are in it for the buck instead of with their heart. And I mean, here at Dynamic, we expect to see our customer base come back and come back and come back.
That's the bottom line of when you do it right. You continue to grow. And again, how you can have so many successful businesses in one community. Melinda Campbell, owner of Dynamic Diesel Incorporated, American Truck and Trailer Repair, and All Trailer Supply, and James Wood with Dynamic Diesel. Thank you so much for joining us, and please share with them how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, you can reach us at 220 Coney Island Drive in Sparks, 359-4477, or dynamicdieselinc.com. or catch us on Facebook.
And you can also find them on our preferred business page on our website, thecarbuyeradvisor.com.